The ghetto.
All right,
Sacramento.
here we go. I call to order the Keizer Traffic Safety Bikeways Pedestrians Committee meeting for November 16th. First thing I'll ask for is approval of the minutes. Did anyone want to?
I move to approve the minutes.
Thank you.
I second that.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask for, what is it called? A motion?
That is the approval.
Approval of the motion, right? Okay. For all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All's good there. First, next we have up is appearance of interested citizens, and I have Sharon Johnston, please. If you'll just come up. Wait, if you want to come up, I need you on the mic, and then if you'll just say the city or street you live, name of the street, or
Name and city of residence.
name and city of residence.
Okay, Sharon Johnson, I live on Meadow Lark, right by Webster Grade School. And our traffic is horrible anymore.
Okay.
It's really very unsafe. My kid runs the street for me, and he knows how it is. The people do not follow the speed limit.
Just bring it down to you. There we go.
Is that better? The people don't follow the speed limit at all.
Okay.
I mean, and all hours, I can sit in my family room and I can see right out the door and they are speeding by constantly.
Okay.
They don't even slow down if you want to walk across the street to get the mail.
Oh my goodness.
And between that and the way the people are able to park on both sides of the street, right at the end, is kind of
This is
dangerous
a new one
because
for us.
one truck parks on one side, another parks on the other side, and so the vision is not. Oh, is that off? Oh, you didn't want to hear me anyway, did
That's
you?
okay. But you said that was Meadowlark, though, was the
Yes.
street? Okay.
Yes, and so there's a lot of issues that Keizer used to be a beautiful area to live in. Because I've lived here since I was 37 and I'm 75 now. And I love the area, but I don't like what's happening. In some ways, I wish it was an HOA community when you are allowing businesses to be run out of homes and our neighborhood is looking junky. But it's a traffic issue that I'm dealing with now. And before, you did put up one of those speed things so you could tell how fast. But you know something, they see it here and then they, right down the street they go. And I asked once if I said, could I just post out on my light pole what the speed limit was? Because then you could really see it, because I almost live on 14th Street. I'm the second house up from 14th. And they said, oh no, you can't do that. You have to put it in your front area here. I said, well, they couldn't see it because I couldn't put it on a pole high enough. And so I don't know. I don't know what we can do.
There's a couple of things. So the first thing is, this is the first time that Meadowlark has actually been brought to our attention as a safety concern. I'm going to defer to Lieutenant Wenning to maybe ask for a little bit extra monitoring over the next 30 days. Well, it's going to be 60 days because we actually won't be meeting next month, but then to bring back some information to us, and that will help us gather details of what we're seeing. And then from there, we can see what the next step is.
Yeah.
Yes, it does take a while for things to move around here.
I know that.
Okay.
That it takes a while. It's just, and I'm more than willing to have somebody park the little motorcycle or whatever in my driveway to monitor, because you can really tell, because where I live at this end, it's like they're coming off McLeod and they're just racing down the street.
Okay.
And it's not just young kids, it's people of all ages.
Okay. So I do think that what we would like to do first is do some type of monitoring from the city so that they can give us real data for us
Okay.
to review. What that does is helps us to talk to Public Works about maybe some different options and opportunities, because they have, of course, rules that they need to follow. I don't know if there's any red striping, or as you said, it could be just as simple as putting up a new sign to show what the,
Personally, I think I'd take out of my own pocket just to put up a bump in the middle of the street. And I would love to see somebody hit it. And what's scary, though, is we've got all these new apartments that are coming in, so things aren't going to get any better.
and we definitely are very aware of just how much the city is growing.
Yeah.
I think that right now, we cannot, your area, we can monitor. Any of the new areas that have new construction going up really needs to get some time to let it fly. Thinking
Oh,
about Herta Lane.
I mean, I understand that. I just, like I said, I wish that people would become considerate again and realize we are a neighborhood
I agree.
and it's not a raceway.
But I do think that asking for a little bit more monitoring with the police will help us to review this and give us some data that will help.
Oh, I would love that.
Okay. We have a couple questions. I'm going to start with it was, okay. Go ahead,
I was
Hirsch.
just talking to Michael. It's important that the Gupser Neighborhood Association knows about this concern, so they can also monitor the solutions.
This, I mean, as many years as I've lived here, this is the first, honest to God, that I knew that you even had a committee
Really?
to do this. And,
Well, just so that you know, we work really closely with the neighborhood associations. That's why Mr. Stang had brought this up for us, is once we can get them involved, it will help the citizens on your area, in your area, help address this.
now, would that be on my phone too, like the meeting tonight? Because I signed up for all that. So would that be on my phone?
All the
No.
neighborhood associations are now listed on the city's website when their meetings are.
Okay, well, then I've got
And
that.
who all the board
Okay.
members are and such. So
Okay.
that's been completely updated. If you had asked that question maybe 6 months ago, I would have to say, I don't know, but it is there now.
Okay.
And it looks really good.
But their agendas don't come out with the city information because we're independent.
Yeah, oh, I realize
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
I
But
realize that
definitely-
you're totally, and that's why I was here about the traffic, but
Well, I think that,
I feel sorry for you guys. You probably have a headache after you leave at night.
yeah, okay, give me a second. I think that this is all of the citizens making sure our community stays safe,
Yeah.
stays safe. So we appreciate it. We don't look at it that way. What we're trying to do is really come together with a list of concerned citizen areas that we want to, in a way, put into our priorities. And
Okay.
if there are easier things that we can do that doesn't cost a lot of money, we want to address those immediately. And this might be as simple as a fix, but I do need the city to look at
Okay.
it and get a review, so,
That will be my next step,
okay.
I promise.
All right.
And-
We have some people that wanted to comment.
Yeah.
You can,
Go ahead, Mike.
I just had a question. So you said Meadowlark. Is it just Meadowlark, or are you also for 14th as for speeding?
Oh, it's everywhere.
Okay.
Mistwood, you name it. Everyone that is a straight shot like that, they're speeding.
yeah.
And it's not, it's just like I have, a friend of mine lives in the cul-de-sac over on Stonehenge. She said they have the same problem too, and they have that kind of like hill there, and it's like, down they go. So, yeah, any street where there's a long distance between 14th and McLeod,
Yeah.
they're speeding.
Mr. Dempster, did you have some?
No, I think she answered it. I was trying to figure out where the people were going. Because, I mean, were these your local neighbors we're talking about, the person that lives for 4 houses?
No,
Oh,
no.
it's not. So these are people going somewhere?
These are people going somewhere, using our street as
Yeah,
a
but where are
short,
they-
Conduit.
What I don't understand is where they're going.
where are they
Yeah, why would
going?
I can't figure out why I would go down Meadowlark.
Well,
Meadow,
because a lot of people, it's a shortcut for them to take their kids to school, and they're always in a hurry. And it's not only a
So that's
short,
their local people that live near you?
It's not just local people.
Oh.
I've seen Lowe's trucks. I've seen construction trucks that have gone too fast down our street. So no, it's just not local people. It's,
All right, Ms. Johnson, I think we've noted, go ahead, Hirsch.
Well, I just want to emphasize, the neighborhood association needs to vote because you're talking about a greater area. And
I will make
this
sure.
committee, and I guess I can kind of, if the mayor allows, talk for city council, the neighborhood associations bring a louder and bigger voice on issues.
Oh, I will be there.
Okay.
I think,
I just wanted to point out, so the last Gupser Neighborhood Association meeting was 2 nights ago. So it's the third Tuesday, or the second Tuesday of every month.
they meet down here?
They meet here.
Yes, in the
Second.
conference rooms.
Yeah, second Tuesday of every month. Okay,
Except
I will
December.
remember.
Yeah,
Thank
except
you.
December.
Check the schedule. December might be canceled.
It is.
Oh,
It is.
It
it's
is.
canceled, so it won't be until January.
Yeah, that's why I gave us a 60-day window, because we will not be holding our meeting in December as well.
Well, you've got to take time off for the holidays, for Pete's sakes.
Thank you.
They invited me for dinner, in fact. I lied.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Mayor, did you have some?
Thank you so much
comment?
for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question for Mr. Griffin. One of the things that she mentioned was that at the end of the street that looks like from the map from both ends, that there is no parking, that parking is allowed all the way up to the intersection. And when people have brought line of sight questions to the city council, it's gone back to Public Works to look at, do we need to bring the no parking away from the intersection so there's a clearer line of sight? Is that something that this committee could discuss and that you might be able to look at? You're more familiar with your street since you live there.
That's a very large spectrum of area you're talking about. If in every neighborhood, at every intersection, at every stop sign, pulling that back X amount of feet, is that what you're talking about? And then,
I'm talking about this one in particular, just Meadowlark, because that's the comment that's been brought. And it doesn't look like Meadowlark, it looks like Meadowlark allows parking all the way up to the street, the cross street.
that entire neighborhood and all of our neighborhoods, yes.
So in this case, because there was a comment about a obstruction of line of sight, is that a conversation that could be had regarding Meadowlark?
I don't think specifically calling out Meadowlark would be fair to the rest of the streets that are the exact same. I don't know where that's going if we open that door, I guess is what I'm saying. It's worth a conversation, yes, but like right there, just to say, no, you can't, and then we'd have to apply that continually and be consistent throughout all our
Every
neighborhoods.
intersection,
Yeah,
That's-
Okay.
Okay,
okay.
yeah?
What are the rules
that a
right now?
problem?
How close can you park to it?
I don't think there's
Well,
a
wait,
sign that says
yes.
you can't.
Well,
Hold on.
there's laws, there's rules of the
I think it's
road.
25 feet from the
25
stop
feet.
sign.
Is that not being
And code
honored? Is that
enforcement
what we're
enforces that.
No one enforces that.
Code enforcement
Okay.
and police.
So there is an Oregon revised statute that talks about parking and crosswalks. Every intersection in the city has a crosswalk, whether it's marked or unmarked. And when you look at the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices and you marry that to the Oregon revised statutes on illegal parking, which I think from memory is like 811-555, it does talk about if it's an unmarked crosswalk, you go 20 feet back from there, and that is where your unmarked lines would be. And it's been a long time since I've had this discussion with anybody about those lines and the distances, and then it's an additional 20 feet because you can't park within 20 feet of a crosswalk. So theoretically, if I remember it correctly, you can't park within 40 feet of an intersection, period. But in order to yellow stripe a it really would have to be every intersection in the city, and maintaining that might be not it'd be a financial burden in maintaining that, but we do have laws, and so very specifically to this complaint, as the young lady was talking, I was making notes, so speed survey, traffic team, is she still?
She already
She's already left.
So one of the things that I was going to mention to her is that she said, yeah, park your motorcycle in our driveway. Well, she's 2 houses away from 14th. It's more beneficial for us to sit in the middle of the block, catch them going both directions, not just one direction, because as soon as they come off of 14th on the Middle Arc, they're not going to speed because they've already seen us. We would rather not catch them at all, meaning there would be no speed problem. But if that's not the case, we're going to be set it up more toward the middle of the block, catch them either direction. So there are laws. The other thing I would also encourage people to look at is the code enforcement, because that's really the sight vision clearance issues that he can address, Ben Crosby can address. But the parking, through the ORS and the parking statutes, we can address that. So I will assign this out for our traffic team to do and bring back in the January's meeting.
Great.
The speed survey, and hopefully she'll see some motor officers out there during the week.
Thank you.
I'm just from memory, long time ago, not that long. We painted some 20-umpteen feet, yellow curbs, and it was across from the swimming pool or something down off of, on, could be. I just remembered that we did it because it was an extreme issue or we had a lot of complaints about it, I don't know.
During summertime in the pool activity. And,
Yeah.
Correct.
But that's the only one I recall that we deliberately the city went in and painted.
Yeah, and there's other times where Bill makes the call on so
Yeah.
many feet without council approval that we do as different issues come up. So it does happen.
Okay. All right, thank you for the discussion. More,
Just
okay.
just that, I totally agree with, making sure cars aren't parking hard up against the crossing. I just hope we don't do this 40-foot, because that could affect people trying to park in front of their house. So 20 feet, I can see 40 feet.
All right,
I'm sorry, I'll just address that. I appreciate that. It's just if we would have to, if we're going to enforce the Oregon Revised Statute, we don't have any discretion in that necessarily. So, especially if they're going to paint it. So, but yeah, I agree. The other statute talks about parking within so many feet of a stop sign, and if it's going to interfere with site clearance up to 200 feet, then you can't park there either. So there are some very specific guidelines and rules and footage. But again, we don't go out looking for that unless it comes to us as a complaint.
thank you.
I just want to Dawn to make sure the speaker comes back in January.
Carol? Dorfler? Thank you.
It's easy once you get the hang of it. Good evening, Carol Dorfler, longtime Keizer resident and vice president of the West Keizer Neighborhood Association. I have a question to address to all of you regarding the neighborhood traffic management program. When you are ready, and I think, Tammy, you're getting close, to send that on to council for approval, that you are considering lowering that 75% of respondents from the neighborhood survey. That is it's a burdensome number. I heard either this last meeting or the meeting before that number was not set in stone. So it is in your purview to lower that, and I'm hoping that you will do that.
Okay. Go ahead, Tammy.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. I did propose to Public Works some ideas to address that. I'm waiting on some feedback, so I don't want to speak to it just yet. But you're not alone on that comment, and so we hear you 100%.
Good.
We agree with the fact that we don't know where the number came from specifically. And so there's wiggle room and discussion opportunities for sure. So definitely keep it on your radar.
Yeah.
And we'll get you some answers here soon.
It would, when a person reads through that and sees that number, it's a deterrent. They look at that number and just go, wow, do we really want to do this, even though they have a real problem in their neighborhood? And I think it would be, it would help to facilitate using the management plan more than than a deterrent.
If you stay through more of the meeting, I'm hoping we have time today to discuss this further.
Good.
And so you'll hear
Yeah,
some more
I'll
of the
be here.
conversation on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I would just want to note that I would not like to see it go under 50%.
No.
Because you can have citizens that don't want it and do want it. So we now know, I think we're now having a parameter of 50 to 75%. What is the key number that percentage should be? We also, there is a little bit more detail of understanding what the difference between a resident and a citizen is and who can sign that as well too. So you're right, we are probably about a good 85, 90% done with a lot of the questioning, which has been a great year project that we've been working on, and Tammy has done a great job leading this. And I think that if we can get everybody in agreement with some of these numbers and questions, we can move forward on having a good document that everybody can use.
I admire your tenacity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tammy Coons, come on up.
Tammy Kunz, Greater Northeast Keizer Neighborhood Association, and I second all that. They nominated me to talk about all of that. But one of the concerns is when you guys do your work session with City Council, the neighborhood associations would also like to be part of that process. And then Brenda, the flag program that you've been working on, any new information on that?
So I haven't actually been actively pursuing it recently because I got married and so
Congratulations.
I was a little busy.
A little.
So that was the end of October. So it is on my, I have no reason not to start working on it now. What I'm trying to do is figure out how, Portland has an intersection that they're waiting for funding to put in some form of traffic light. And so they currently have a citizen who is with her own funds purchasing flags. I just want to find a process that allows our city to monitor that and give a citizen the ability to do that as well, and trying to figure out how that isn't a burden financially on our community. And so my research is to look for examples that are functioning and then try to present that in a way that allows us to brainstorm as a community and with the council to find a way to allow a particular issue that we do want to address, but funding's going to take 2 or 3 years, that we can do the flags in the meantime. That's my goal.
But at this time, we do not have any known intersections that we are wanting to address with flags. Is that a true statement?
As far as I know, it's true because it would be a citizen bringing it.
And we haven't
What
had
we would like to have is a process, so a citizen or a business could bring it to this community and we could help them facilitate the paperwork like we're doing with the traffic management, and then present it to the city, and then the city decides if it fits, if it's appropriate. So we aren't going to pick the intersections. That's my goal. I haven't actually
Right.
created this plan, but the goal is that citizens have a space where they can actually work on something in their
Well, I've had
area.
people from the association and parent club with Kennedy ask me about it because I've shared that that's something we're looking into because some of the concerns of crossing guards not being able to be posted where we need them. And it seems to have picked up the pace again because we seem to be having a shortage. And I know that we're fixing
Yeah.
to have some major budget cuts. So they asked if we could work on something like that. Since that was something that you were working on, I didn't know where you were in that process or
Yeah.
how we could support you in that process.
Well, Tammy, I think we have brought it up and had I know that was like one of the things I did a couple of years ago, and I thought that Cherry Street would be a good street to do that on that intersection. And there's things that, like theft and stuff that council brought up that was very clear might not be the best thing, but you just brought up something that a school being in charge of these flags and helping to get them out there so that they can cross and pick them back up, that would be something that we could possibly help put together. And then the second thing, I think it was Keizer Commerce, what is it called?
Keizer
Chamber, thank you. I think that maybe we could present it to them to help with a sponsorship of maybe purchasing some flags if it was in conjunction with just the schools. Anything else is we'd have to worry about theft. So.
Right. Would it benefit if I contact a couple of other schools? Because I know Whittle's dealing with the same thing
Yes.
with Alder and
You're
Berta.
right. I think that would help us to move forward and maybe present it to the chamber and maybe get us a sponsorship or contribution towards a program that we can vet out over the next 2024. Hirsch, did you have?
I may sound like a killjoy, but ODOT traffic safety is opposed to these kind of things and has voiced concern to this committee that it's not a good idea. And involving the schools, they have to go through their risk management because there's significant liability. Whether if the city is sponsoring, the city has to have the liability. If the school is sponsoring, they have to have the liability, which means they have to have the money to pay the insurance.
Okay.
So,
All I can do is do the footwork and figure out
Yep.
where it goes.
Yeah. And all we can do is vet it and see if we can make it happen for the citizens.
See where it leads.
Yeah. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Tammy. Okay, moving to our next area is project spreadsheet review, and that there is a printout for each of the committee members of projects that we have identified. This spreadsheet has been kind of developed not in lieu of, but just because our traffic, the TPS, the traffic management, what is it called, Mike? The TSB? The TSB system plan. Me and acronyms are not getting along these days. There's too many of them. But the TSP is out of date and doesn't have any timing that we're going to have that updated by ODOT that I know of. Mayor, if you know more details, please interject.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Our transportation system plan is in the queue to be updated. What we're waiting on right now is the updates relative to the climate-friendly and equitable community rules. So in this manner, we'll be able to get in the queue and, finish that planning, and then we'll be in the queue for funding from the state for the TSP. It is not something that we can fund out of our general fund. We just don't have those kind of dollars. So we have always relied on grants to be able to do that, and this will put us up in the queue for grant funding to get that done. In the meantime, I would also say that most of the projects that are still in the to-do list in our transportation system plan are still relevant and valid. The vast majority of them, when we adopted this back in, I think, 2009, were bike ped, especially the sidewalks, the areas that have insufficient or incomplete sidewalks, and the two that, and I will address these later, the Verda project and the Wheatland, and I'll circle back on that. So we've done a good job when we adopted the one we have. We did a good job identifying in a really comprehensive way.
Yeah. just need the money.
To do it again, yes, and this will really help us get that money from the state to pay for it.
But also not just the money to do to view it, but also the money to do the project.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's big, it's big. So what has happened, just I wanted to catch everybody up with this, is we've developed what concerned citizens have brought into us to review. Some of the things that I've thought about is how do we make each area priority? Because the whole city is a priority, and we don't want to put too much in one area unless it's definitely unsafe. So at this time, we now got a clean list together, and thank you, Mike Griffin, for helping to keep the updates of what has happened and just the things that he could take care of with some paint or something has been very helpful. And now we have this dedicated list of items that we have on here. Some of them, did you want to start talking towards them?
I have a lot to say about this.
Okay, I'm going to actually turn it over to Tammy and let her start talking about each of these line items, and we can all make some notes on here, and then we'll go from there. So let's start.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I feel like we got off to a rocky start on this concept. Okay, I'm going to start there. When I started putting this together, its intent, in my view, was to have a place that we capture the complaints and then allow a place to track feedback moving forward, so we can just kind of keep an eye on things and then make notes for reference in case one should circle back around. We could say, well, we addressed it at this point in time, and this was the research, this was the outcome, et cetera. We're still in the process of developing the format. We recently added a few columns. That's not the point. By sharing it ahead of the meetings, though, I see a lot of comments were added in the comment column, which is great, but I intended that to be for comments during discussion, not, first question, whose comments are these?
So Tammy, I thought this was developed like Chair Jamie and I put together last year or 2 years ago, and the comments are made by me. A couple of them somebody else put there, I'm not sure, but I went through, this is our project list, and so I systematically went through to give updates where things were, and that made sense to me because what we had worked out.
Yeah.
So if I stepped on any toes, that's,
No, you didn't. This is all in development.
Yeah,
So
we're
I
developing
think
and
that,
so those are my comments,
Okay.
minus a couple of them were there, and I don't know how they got there. They're not mine. Mine are pretty much, the completed ones are going to council, or here's where we are at. They discuss where we're at and what's going on. So I understand this is an ongoing thing and you want to keep it here. So if I put a remove,
No, let me rephrase. I guess that kind of came off badly, and I apologize. I appreciate all comments, and I want to hear every single one of them. I was just surprised to see them, and where am I going with this?
how about this? Let me help you out. I think that the comment section for review when we're sitting here at a meeting and talking about it could be a comment, but I think maybe we put Public Works as a comment column.
Actually, I think where my thoughts are is a matter of control of the document. That's where my, if one of us should be in control of the document so that we don't have these random comments being added and no one's clear on where they're coming from, or we leave this for Public Works comment section, which I'm okay with.
we can have two, but project list to me says, hey, here's a bunch of projects. Now, where are we at with them? Because maybe
'Cause that's what's
people are out of the loop and what happened to that. So it's just like, oh, let me fill you in. This is now completed. We took care of this because things happen month to month. So maybe we just have a separate one that's just
No,
Public
I
Works.
think we still stay with this one. I'm going to suggest and ask if, Dawn, if maybe you can be you're here at every meeting. And I think that it should all be funneled through you because you kind of are starting to gather all the details that are going on over the year. And the more years you're here with us, the more you'll remember and bring those things up to us. So I think this house should be housed with you. And I do think that we need a Public Works column that is just your updates to us so that we can know what has been addressed and what is in process still in the city's view.
And the document's only, the piece of paper's only so big. So if we need to reformat this in some way to capture everything we need to accomplish here, I'm all ears on how to do that.
Okay.
So that's my overarching, and then I added the NA column, which is Neighborhood Association, and so I addressed that like on my own format, explaining more in detail what it is, so that for dissemination, it's clear what the acronyms are all about. And then, yeah, I was just hoping we could talk through each and every one of them. And another intent of the document is to track the before and after, as I was stating, because if we're able to tie it to the NTMP, in there it says that after we make a change, we're going to get feedback 3 months after the fact, and this would allow us to close that loop.
Okay.
Okay, so
I
if we
like
need
how
to
that
add
ties
another
together.
column for that purpose, and if we need to make this an 11 by 17.
I think this, yeah.
Whatever works. Anyway, that's where we're at. So if we could, yeah, go through each one. And Mike, if you don't mind even leading the list and helping us know what your comments are for.
Oh, I can go ahead and lead it. So we have the Verda at Dearborn Northeast, and the type of project this is the Chariot bus stop at Dearborn Northeast. This was added around June of this year. And the comment that is in here, it says Neighborhood Association will need to contact Chariots, Counselor Hussman, to look into this. And that's kind of where it's left. But we do have a note that says removed. Is that your note, Mike?
And yes, it is mine, but in taking, as far as projects, this was not a project, and we addressed it. So remove, and we're keeping track of where things are. Well, we're removing, in this case, I guess it's not remove, it's still there. Or is it out of our hands? That's why it was two different things. I didn't know how it was a project, cross it off, it's done
Okay.
over. You know what I mean?
And we can discuss how to manage it. That's part of what I was hoping we could identify.
Right.
Do we want to just have, I guess I work with spreadsheets, and we can, hide the columns if they're done, but they're still on the spreadsheet just hidden, and if we ever need to readdress them, they're still there, they're just not printed, we can do it that way. Ones
Or
we're
if it's
monitoring,
not in
et
our
cetera.
preview too, if it's not something that we should be
Right.
doing. So now it's sounding to me like there should be a spreadsheet with 2 sheets on it, worksheets. One of things that we have deemed removed because it's not something we can address. This has to go through Chariots.
Because we've
So-
spoken on this one a handful of times. And
We
so
have.
it's like, okay, it's there with nothing under the status. And I thought, well, it's,
And I can speak to that. It was just lingering until we heard if somebody talked to them, because I don't like to just pass it off until I know that someone has closed that loop. And so that's why I just kind of hung
We're
out
really
there.
looking at kind of a closed column. The issue's done.
It's
We're
closed by
not-
the committee, is that what you're
Right, by the
meaning?
committee, yeah. Some of these, like the Claggett Street speeding and the Meadowland Lark speeding, they're never gonna be closed. But for us, I put check marks, we're done with this. Okay. I would hesitate to remove it or put it on a different sheet because I can show this to my neighbor and say, look what we did, because they're there and these are things we're doing. And that's kind of, if you can keep it to 4 pages, 2 sheets, that would be great. And I like Mike's comments, and somebody else could, I don't care, I knew they were done anyway, but that for people just coming on the board, on the committee, or somebody else was not familiar with it, that's handy.
Yeah.
Okay.
so I figured in the comments, if we completed something, like the Cummings Delight speed table and the rectangular beacon here, right on Shamala, those, status is completed, but let's keep that there.
Yeah.
I don't
But
want
we can
the-
also push it down to a completed
Right, put it
area.
in
Yes.
12
Completed,
font.
yeah.
There.
Completed or passed. So if there was 3 areas, items open, items completed, and items that we cannot address, it would be those would be the 3. Keeping it in one document, one spreadsheet, and that could be,
Right. And it's worth bringing up, because, I had to look
We
something
have a
up,
comment from Tammy.
like the,
John, since we're asking you to be involved with monitoring this, and what do you recommend?
I like the idea of it being one person. I don't feel like I'm the best staff person to do this. I feel like Mike is more intimate with all of the projects, and so maybe it would be more suiting to be with him.
I comment, so this is, and you haven't been here to understand how this works, is how this started is it was emails between Mike and I. And then I'm like, well, I want the whole committee to know and see what's going on. So I would, it would be funneled to you. You would know that we want this on this spreadsheet. You would be the owner of that spreadsheet to be able, so I don't think that you'd be making any comments. Mike would come to you and say, can you add this note? Or email you that this is the note he'd like added to this line. And that's just how it is. Does that make you feel better? Do you feel a little bit more comfortable with that?
Thank you very much, yes.
Yeah, okay. She's like, I don't want to speak. Okay.
Or would I still be able, I mean, I can say that to Dawn, or I can just put the status and type what's going on right there with, and
If we,
with
yeah, well, we're going to have.
bypassing that, and then, I mean, there's other facets Dawn will take care of, but that seems easy enough
I'm okay with the shared
for me if I have
spreadsheet.
it.
We could do a Google Doc of sorts so where everyone can see it, but only one person can change it, or two people.
If you're a city.
It's whatever the city has.
Right, okay.
I don't know.
And we do have some.
I personally think that housing it with one person until we get like a SharePoint or something like that. At this point, just email her with whatever the update that you want on this spreadsheet
Okay.
goes. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one.
We had a comment from Tammy.
You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to take comments only in this area right here. Are they supposed to talk?
Okay.
That's okay.
I was the point person for that one, and I talked to Chariots, and as soon as verticrossing is done, they are going to address that.
Okay.
There'll be a new bus stop on both sides, and it should be ADA accessible when they're done.
Okay.
So that's where that sits.
Thank you. So the next area I'm going to move on is Verda and Chamawa, and that's a flashing crossing, and it's being monitored right now, and I think that just as the last several months, until we get some movement with that apartment complex being open, we can't really put good monitoring to that area. So a monitor is a good status for that one.
I didn't understand where the flashing lights, was it 4 flashing lights? Or a whole bunch of them, or one, or what?
Mayor,
Somehow I lost track, must have
This-
fallen asleep.
do you recollect what this was about? Because I know that I think you were here at that meeting and someone had asked for flash crossings, but we're in a monitoring mode until there's more traffic.
Correct. So this is an opportunity to watch what happens after the apartments are open. They don't have their certificate of occupancy at this time. And then that would be, if we were to do any flashing crosswalks and so forth, like we just did on Rickman and Chamawa, that would be the time where there would be a study to see if it's warranted.
Main Street.
Right, and
Yeah,
location
so
and
that's
whether or
what
not
you're
it's
talking
warranted.
about.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's kind of like the one we were just talking about, it's a stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. I think I like that better. Next one we have is Cummings and Delight and the speed table, which has been completed. I'm actually going to skip over the completed ones. Just started reading off the next one. The next one is Lock Haven North near McNary. The type of project is a rectangular rapid flashing beacon. And this will be going to council on 11/20. The engineer warranted an engineer warrant study had been completed and results will be presented to council on 11/20. So I think this is one that's in process.
Yep.
All right.
Do we get a sneak peek at what the decision? What did the study? We don't get a sneak peek? You don't know?
I don't either. The packet will be published, it'll be in there, so read the packet when it comes out.
Next week?
It's out.
Okay.
I thought it was, but I just haven't checked my email. So yeah, the council packet's out, so happy reading.
Thank you. So this one's for discussion is Candlewood Northeast Curve at Brooks Northeast. Flashing amber beacon for curve warning has been asked for. And the comment says, make recommendation, nothing set aside in current budget for this. So I believe that's your response from Public Works, okay? And when you say make a recommendation, this is something that we can make a motion on, okay? Is there anybody that wants to talk about that, or is this something? Go ahead. Okay.
I keep driving that and have the same problem. I don't have a problem with that curve. I'm not sure who we're flashing the light at. That's obviously not
Yeah.
me and the rest of the people around me because they're not having a problem. If you're talking about making a flashing light so somebody is doing 60 after they've left Lock Haven, I'm not sure the flashing lights, I don't know. If it's
Well,
worth it.
no, I appreciate
I
the
mean,
comment.
just a comment, because I recommend something if it's a safety issue. And yeah, maybe it would stop one or two people who are doing something they shouldn't be doing anyway, but I'm not sure it would. I'm kind of skeptical about that.
I
And I think we have
agree with
worse
you.
places, but maybe not. Is that a really bad? I know we've had bad wrecks there, but it doesn't look that bad.
Are we talking about two different intersections? Because I think we've moved on to Candlewood. Are you still talking about the McNary Lockhaven one?
No, we're talking.
No, we're on to Candlewood.
Onto the Candlewood.
No, I was talking, I was the other one, Shimon.
You were talking about Lockhaven and near
Well,
McNary.
yeah. No, not
Oh, you're talking about the Chamawa curve.
Chamawa Curve. As they were.
Oh, he's on the
I
one
understand,
below. He's rushing the meeting.
All right, sorry. I'm impatient. I'll wait for you.
Candlewood, what's the problem there?
Yeah, I don't see it either.
The Candlewood is a 90-degree corner, and it's not well lit in that particular area. So my suggestion, just for economics, is put chevrons that delineate the corners coming up and a suggested speed sign, as opposed to something that's going to be residual cost lifetime, which is flashing lights.
Okay.
And so there's nothing there right now? No chevrons or anything?
Pretty sure there's chevrons.
Are there? Okay.
Okay. I think this is a monitor. I do believe that, I'm not hearing that the committee is convinced to move forward on a motion with this, so we're going to just continue to monitor. We haven't really seen anybody come back in after June or possibly when this was talked about to say that there's more issue there. So let's keep it at a monitor status. And Don, I'm going to give you my report. I'm writing on it to have you update this. Thanks. And then the next one is Chamawa Northeast curve on west side before approaching Lucinda Avenue northeast. And their request is for a solar speed display. And Public Works is saying we can make a recommendation if we agree that that's something that needs to be done.
Is that where
I'm
the
looking for
rocks got
Lucinda
hit?
now.
Is this the project that gentleman came in several meetings ago and talked about?
The rocks.
Where?
Yeah, so that would be,
Again, I'm not finding, where's Lucinda?
it would be east of the roundabout, not west, if that's what that's supposed to mean there.
It's as you're coming into town on Shamawa, just before Lucinda.
Yeah,
And
so
I
it's-
would put it on the north side of the road, I'll call it. And there'd only be one of them, so it's warning traffic coming right up on Lucinda and then into the roundabout, like, hey, here's your speed. And when he came and talked about it, it was issues pulling out of Lucinda and just cars coming through. And that was brought up was a solar speed display. And so my comment here was just, we didn't talk nothing more was talked about it, so it needs to be talked about and recommendation made.
I think another column should be made of how many comments we've had on these things, because if only one has come in June, and here we are in November and we haven't heard anything else, I don't think that a recommendation should be coming from the committee. Does anybody have any dispute with that? Mike?
Yes, because didn't we have a major wreck there on that corner?
hitting the rocks.
Yeah, but like 2 or 3 years ago. Does anybody remember that? Wasn't there a big wreck there? They drove in.
We've had quite a few actual wrecks in and around that area.
Yeah, but
Unfortunately, though, a lot of those are criminal activities, such as driving under the influence of intoxicants, which is not going to make a difference what you do if they're
what I-
impaired. It's likely to happen again.
Right. I don't mind having it up, don't get me wrong, but I'm just not sure if we should maybe discuss it, because it's a dangerous area. I would not want to throw it out because nobody complained about it.
I'm not throwing it out.
Yeah, I
It
know.
would stay in a monitor status,
Yeah.
but again, when we only have one citizen that came in once this year to say something about it and nothing has really come of it, and now our police department is saying most of those had a reason why they happened, I'm not comfortable asking for a recommendation from the committee
Yeah.
to do anything in this area. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Mike, did you have a comment, Michael?
Yeah, just that several meetings ago, I don't remember how many, but we talked about how all 4 streets coming into that roundabout, we have different speed limits, and we were talking about having a uniform speed limit going in there, which could help address this, including maybe getting a solar speed display too. But if we get that uniform speed limit going into the roundabout, absent all the, intoxicated driving, at least kind of one big solution rather than just piecemeal it at that roundabout.
Okay, but so we're done with the Chamawa curve thing, now we're talking about the roundabout.
Well, no, I'm talking,
No.
I'm talking about the
He's-
roundabout, but only in how it relates to that Chamawa curve.
Okay, then I want to bring something else up. If, I think we could look 10 years down the road. If for some reason the city or somebody decides to make Lock Haven to the traffic circle a thoroughfare, which is, I was at a planning commission meeting, and then after it, some people were talking, that's, at least it's in the back of some people's mind.
Chamawa.
Verda, did I say? Okay, Verda from Lock Haven to Chamawa.
Okay, that makes more sense.
If that's going to become a thoroughfare, then we need to look at the uniform speeds and whether or not it's even possible, but if we're going to make that, I don't know how we're going to straighten it out, but, I mean, that's just saying that maybe we should talk to the long-range planners to see what they plan on doing about that road and, anyway, the whole mess at Wheatland and River Road and McNary Estates, that intersection area has been talked about, but nothing's ever been put down on paper that we can pin on somebody.
There has been a plan done.
Yeah. And last I heard, that plan involved in making some major changes to some of the back streets and making them, so we're talking about upping the speed limit, not lowering it. Well, not lowering it.
Well, I would just say that, even if it's even if it becomes a connector that goes through that farm field eventually, that still wouldn't affect having a uniform speed limit coming into the roundabout.
Well, maybe in the long range.
I just think it's a common sense thing. If you're going on one side, if it's 25 or 30, it should be the same on the other side. It's just a common sense thing, so.
Okay, noted.
Okay, so we could recommend that.
Alder Northeast at Brooks Northeast, solar speed displays have been asked for, one on each direction. And this is going to council as well. I guess I should have saw
And
that.
that was brought by the neighborhood association.
Right. Signs along bike path, and it says monitoring in process. Is there any specific part of the bike path that we're looking at, or
Yeah,
just?
It's along the parkway,
Just the
correct?
parkway?
Or to the parkway.
Through the parkway.
Signs,
Yeah.
whatever.
In the queue. Bill's working with ODOT on that, and it's just a slow-going process, so it's still something that's going to happen. I don't know when. It hasn't been forgotten,
It's
but
in process, that's a good.
And this committee through Pat Rogers and myself, and I think Michael, you were in on that, made recommendations of what their signage should be, where it should be, and ODOT has agreed. So it's just a matter of they're doing it.
Okay. Next one is street sign replacement.
Where did that come from?
I don't know, but I'm removing it. Next.
No, seriously, where did that
It didn't come from me.
Okay, I'm just.
I don't know if someone just brought up, we need to replace street signs around town. I had a question and I asked, yeah, I don't know. I
Well,
didn't
It's in
look
the
there.
budget for next year?
No, we have,
Oh, what's
under
that say,
operating
Mike?
materials, we update our signs around town. And so I just kind of put a thing that was like, yeah, it's part of something that we do.
Okay,
As signs
next.
fade
So
and
it's just
we
some
replace.
signs here and
Yeah, but
there.
I don't know what we're talking about there, so I just
I think
kinda-
we're reaching, you guys, the Public Works is monitoring it and they will know which
Yeah.
signs they want to change.
Okay.
Take it off.
I know in my neighborhood association, one of the signs got tagged really good. And I know that was mentioned for replacement.
Okay.
Did it get replaced?
I think so.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think it did.
Good
But-
job.
Yeah, I think it did. It actually did.
All right, the next one, it's Lock Haven Northeast bike striping at River Road. It's crossed out because it has been taken care of. No?
No.
No, I'm sorry. Then why is
Madam
this
Chair.
lined out?
That was my comment, and I thought that I heard about 4 meetings ago that we had a homework assignment to look at the list and put our comments.
Yeah.
That's why I submitted a comment.
Oh, this
thank
is your
you.
comment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But,
agree with you.
but I didn't have a map in front of me, so I thought it was on the north side going west, which I guess it is not. So that whole comment should go away anyway, because it was in the wrong spot.
But is then Lock Haven Northeast bike striping at River Road still an issue?
It's still an issue. I don't know how you would status it. I mean, it's not, certainly not completed. It's not removed. It's not monitored.
It's not
I guess we're in
recommended.
discuss.
Okay.
I'm recommending.
Mayor,
Yeah.
Mayor, can you add comment to this?
It's a go.
Oh.
So there's a small section as, in front of the bus pullout that, the bike lane comes in right past, just east of the bus pullout. There is enough space, according to Mr. Lawyer, to go ahead and ease that out. And it won't happen right now. It'll just be next time that gets, striped. It will ease it out and the bike lane will be, won't pull in quite as sharply in front of the bus pullout as it does now. So as you're, so if this is,
Will the bike lane be on the traffic side of the bus stop?
it already is. So what it'll do, right now, it cuts back in toward the curb. So instead of doing that, where the bus stop is right now, and you have the bike lane, and then after the bus pullout, it's a really quick dart in. And right now, what we can do, there's plenty of right-of-way, there's extra space there because of the geometry of the second driveway. They'll be able to sweep it, make it more of a slope, moving past that second driveway into the Creekside Shopping Center, and then connect into the curb hugging portion of the bike lane more toward the apartments. So that was looked at by Mr. Lawyer. He said that particular section can happen. It'll just have to wait for our striping contract.
Okay. So at this point, we're going to switch this to monitor and city is addressing, and then I've put some notes on here for Dawn to update the spreadsheet.
Yep. And if you could make it that you're correct, it's eastbound
Eastbound?
Yep.
Thank you.
only.
Thank you.
And it's not at River Road, and I think that was another confusing thing.
Lock Haven, okay.
It's a Lock Haven at the Creekside Shopping Center and I think we specified that it's at the, around the bus stop specifically. And I want to give credit to Mr. de Blasi and Councilor Husband for bringing this to my attention.
Well, thank you for helping it go along. I appreciate it.
Now we have to do Chamala Road and River Road. Westbound. You ride your bike, you have to go pick up Big Lane.
Okay.
Westbound. If you're on a bike, you have to merge out to heavy traffic
Yeah.
to go through.
And nobody does because they get
turn-only lane or on the sidewalk, and the turn-only lane screws all the cars behind you.
Plus that ground cover there is encroached out probably 2 feet into the pavement now.
It just got cut.
Yeah. But I see simple painting as the solution, as a warning to drivers that cyclists are merging.
All right.
Do you want us to add that to the list?
I would like to,
Okay.
because I've talked about it before in the
Is it on here
past.
already?
Oh, well, no, that's a good area too.
Okay.
Can you add it to this one?
Yep, but I don't remember what was said. What area?
Area is Chamawa Road and River Road, westbound on Chamawa crossing River Road.
And this is striping?
I would say warning striping. And I think you'll see colors all around town. Portland uses blue. I
Those
think Salem.
Cheryl symbols, where it shows that a bike is in the lane.
You can do that, but I think just a simple showing that the cyclist is merging colors and green, or I've seen them blue in Portland. So
They're green here.
Sure you don't want orange?
I want orange. If I see green, I'm going the other direction.
All right, let's keep moving through this list, everyone. This one says Keizer Road, Northeast, Verda, McLeod.
McLeod. Can somebody explain that to me? Because I don't,
The next
Keizer
one.
Road, my thought ran from Verda to Ridge.
I think that's a local street there, Keizer Road, and I don't know where this came from, but somebody brought up school flashing signs for Kennedy School there on Keizer Road between Verda and McLeod.
Where's
And
McLeod? Oh, just up a
McLeod,
little bit.
what, around past the Little League
Right,
fields,
but
and
the
then
Ridge is the
turns into
dead
Ridge.
end of it. I mean, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, so piecing that together, I'm not, and again, I'm not sure where that was brought up or how it got.
I think that's. okay, I'm-
Tammy put it on there, so.
Okay.
So-
She did. Okay. That's
Neighborhood association.
my major concern, actually, of all these, is Keizer Road from Verda to the school, actually to Ridge Road, because that is heavily trafficked in all these baseball people going up and down the thing, and they're parking in the street, they're parking down by the school, and they're still in the street. And when you get on Ridge Road, it's a zoo, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of people parking up there trying to find a place to park. And there's only sidewalks on part of it. I'm just telling you the problem, I'm not sure the solution yet. The school district has a bus turnaround that drags gravel out into the bike lane, or where people would be biking. So if you're biking up there, it's dangerous to go near the school. And you have kids walking to baseball practice, people driving, have a huge apartment complex. The people I dealt with were with strollers and walkers trying to get to the courthouse, City Hall, and there's no sidewalk on Keizer Road, and that's where they have to go because that's where the crosswalk is, which makes sense, that's the crosswalk they should use. And we still haven't paved that 200 feet of sidewalk, or whatever it is, Mike, I don't know distances there. But from the curb past the church to the apartment building, put in sidewalks. So people are out in the street with strollers, the people I was talking to. There's no sidewalk on the other side. And nobody wants to be on the other side because you get up on Verda and you're in that huge ditch up there. So it's, in my thought, for the number of people using that small stretch of road, one of the more nobody's been killed yet, but it's one of the more dangerous looking places we have. And it may be one of the less expensive ones to fix in terms of, it's not that much sidewalk missing.
Okay, give me the street corners
Well, it's
again.
Keizer Road, Verda to
It's this one,
Ridge
okay.
instead of stopping at McLeod. And I don't know who, somebody brought it up, but because they wanted, the kids wanted to cross Keizer Road from that apartment building
So what we're talking about right here is a school speed 20 miles per hour when flashing. And that's what I think Tammy was wanting. And that's a local street and it's not a state standard and they're only used on collectors and arterials. So other schools around Gupser on 14th, they don't have that school speed 20 with the 2 yellow flashers. Whitaker Middle School has that on Lock Haven. Various schools in Keizer do and some don't. And again, that's because it's not a state standard and we don't do that. And not saying they're not.
There's not.
It's just the way, it's because it's not a state standard and we have it at certain places, but not local streets.
We might need to monitor, I'm not sure how much real traffic there is, kids going to school on Keizer Road. I know May Street and the one that comes down is really busy in the morning. We had complaints from people living along that road right in front of the school where the parents are parking in their yard to drop off the kids, and the kids are being dropped off on the wrong side of the street. Okay.
Hirsch, did you have comment?
Yeah, on school signage, how much, and this is some old memory of mine, that the school district has say in where they want stuff like that?
School zone flasher.
These flashers, do the school district have any input on where they want those? Or is it strictly up to the city or the county or whatever?
Again, the research I did, just state standard says where they shall be as far as where they're placed. I don't have an answer for that, Hirsch.
I just, because I know their risk management gets involved in all sorts of stuff, the school districts. So I'm not, somewhere in the back of my mind, I heard or misinterpreted that they had some input. Maybe it's through the State Department of Education that does that.
Yeah, and again, we maintain those signs, so if they get hit, we replace them.
I don't know, I've never seen one on a side street.
No.
All right. Michael, did you have some comment too?
I just had a question for Mike. So you said it's the state standard. Does that mean the standard can't be exceeded, or are you saying the standard?
I don't know, Mike. I asked the question and that's the answer I got from Bill, so.
From Bill?
Yeah.
Okay, but can we leave that on, that's a problem area?
Yeah, but what is the,
Well, we got heavy pedestrian uses, heavy mixing with car traffic. We've got no sidewalk on one side and no sidewalk on the other.
okay.
And it's actually, in terms of pedestrians and bicycling, that is the main route for that part of town to get to City Hall.
Okay,
I
we're
mean,
gonna keep
if
it
you're
at
on the- if you're
monitoring.
on- Yeah, if you're east of Verda, you should be using that crosswalk at the traffic circle. And the only way to get there the easiest way to get there is to come up Keizer Road.
Okay, so we're gonna put that into a monitoring status, and then the project kind of area, I put heavy pedestrian usage and bicycling, so we'll continue to just look at
Yeah.
that and see if we get any
And I'm sure
concerns.
Tammy will help us monitor it.
The next area is Claggett Street Northeast, River dash 10th. And then it says Claggett, Chemawa Northeast, and it's a speed study.
We did that.
Oh, okay. The speed study completed showing 85th percent, 26 miles. So the data doesn't indicate a speeding issue. So we will put this in the done pile, okay. And then the other one is a remove as well too, which is Arnold Northeast and BB Northeast Corner. And we had it monitored by Public Works, and at this point, there is nothing that the city can do, but we can have police department enforcement review and just kind of monitor that. So at this point, we only had one person come in, and they have not been back yet, so.
The complaint was people were parking too close. It's a kind of a wonky little corner down there, but there were people parking in it or too close to it.
Yeah, Ken shows up a handful of times, and I went out there different times throughout the last month or so. And when I was there during school time and different times, I would see cars, but they were back from that corner, and that's why suggestion was if they are nosed out, police enforcement, they can do something about them. But Bill wasn't receptive to painting 20 feet or whatever that distance is on the curb, so.
Okay. I appreciate all of your information, and just, we're still working through how the best way to get this monitored. And Donna, I want to mention to you is do the best that you can to fill in what you have and send it to Tammy and I, or the chair, and Tammy definitely has her hands on this, that I think we could help put any notes that are on there. And then I'll just direct at the neighborhood associations, if you'll direct anything that you see that you want added to that. We're going to actually close this off, that this stays in our committee, but we'll take your details and put them on here and continue to work on the prioritization of what we look at. The two areas that were added was Meadowlark at Gubser School and Chemawa River Road westbound with the green warning.
Orange.
No, green. All right,
I just have a question. What do we mean by priority?
we are still understanding what that means, because we are trying to make sure that we are addressing what concerned citizens want, but we also know that some neighborhood associations are here to back more of those details. So we want to, as a committee, really take into consideration what we're looking at, but also still address it. So I don't know yet. If you have a suggestion?
No, I was lost
Okay.
on what we would use that for.
It was just that, so we weren't just continuing to do everything on Verta and then nothing, you know, on, in a different area. So I think that priority might either be removed and just this becomes a document that we are really monitoring everything. So I really like this. It's come together, and I do think that it'll keep us all on the same page. Thank you. This moves us to number 5, new old business, and the first one is the update to the neighborhood traffic management program, and I was going to turn that over to Tammy first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a lot of notes here. Bear with me while I find the page I'm looking for.
While she's looking at that, I really like the way you're doing the new notes, really kind of under each area. That helps me a lot.
Okay, I promised last month, I believe, or indicated I would be further along than I currently am. A lot of that goes to, I spent time on this and realized there was still a lot of questions lingering. And so I did reach out to various folks for some answers, and I'm waiting on those answers before I can really move forward with a final review. And then I just learned that we're going to do a work session with City Council in January. So for sure, we have to have this dialed in by that point in time.
If you're all ready, so it's penciled in.
Well, I like having a deadline because then it makes sure that we
All right.
wrap this thing up.
It is,
So I'm
it is,
down
but
with
I do think that we don't want to rush it or waste time of council to review this. We want to make sure we have a full document. And I think those questions that you did work this weekend on, and we do need those answers. And I just hope that between now and then you can get those, and then we can confirm with Dawn to make sure that that work session happens. Okay.
So I'm going to ask a few of them out loud here, and then if our staff has answers, I can mark them off as answered. If not, I can wait for those. To Lieutenant Wenning, I did send you an email. Did I send it to the right place? Did you get an email from me?
Don't
No.
recall.
Okay, I was
So
worried that
maybe
might have
not.
happened. I don't know what went wrong there, but all I wanted to ask you was, a comment was brought to our attention in some of the feedback, asking how easy it is to get the mobile variable, the mobile variable speed sign upon request. So,
Super easy.
okay.
Usually we get a email from a concerned citizen, or it'll come through our portal through the city's website. Those go to Wanda Blaylock, who's our executive assistant, who then passes that on either to myself or whoever the new traffic sergeant is going to be. And then we have a spreadsheet and we just add them. We've got 2 boards. And so we move, and they're solar paneled, so they don't typically come back into the PD. They're deployed almost every day of the year. This time of year, from November through maybe March. We will have to bring them in because we don't have enough sunlight to charge the 48 or the 24 volt systems that are on there. So they may be off the road for just a few days, but typically it's a very easy process.
Okay.
And then we monitor that meaning we have it on a spreadsheet, we know where they've been placed. We typically try not to place them, say Meadowlark is the new hotspot, we'll put it out maybe next week, and then it'll be months before we bring it back because there are other places throughout the city that it can be used. So that a neighborhood doesn't monopolize it.
And then remind me, does it hold any data that you review?
It can, but we do not use that for that purpose. We actually have a traffic counting system that will do the exact same thing. It's both made by Stalker Radar, it's the same software, same everything, but deploying it would be much more difficult going out into the field versus our standalone product that we purchased for that purpose.
Okay, thank you. That was the only question I had for you, actually, so that was easy. Mike, did you have a chance to review any of the questions I threw at Public Works?
We reviewed a couple of them. I'm still getting clarification on a few other items, so.
Okay. Is there anything you want to bring to our attention now, or should I just wait for the answer to all of them?
Well, you'd sent 2 emails over the weekend, and again, I apologize, but like I said, we're working at getting clarification in a couple, so I had a few answers, but I didn't want to send them at, 4:30, and I figured I'd wait and gather my thoughts and then just email them to you, so
That's perfectly fine.
if that's fine,
Yes,
we'll just
yes,
go that
yes,
route.
that's why I'm
Okay.
asking and not putting you on the spot with them. I just didn't know where you were with any of those, so I appreciate that. Let me see if anything I can speak out loud to. So one, just in general, it's not even specific to Public Works, it was more a matter of, in general, more to the city. It was suggested that we have a suggestion box here at City Hall that people can put suggestions into, rather than need to come to our meetings, especially if they don't have a neighborhood association support or the timing doesn't work out. Is this something we should just take off the table, or is it something we should explore further? It's not really at this committee's place for any of this, but it just happened to come to us, so I didn't want to ignore it.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
I would recommend that people be encouraged to submit public comment to the city. So it would be directed to the city council, and then we would direct that public comment to this committee if that's where it needs to land. We do not accept anonymous comments, so they have to have a name of city residents on it. So a suggestion box would lend to the notion that someone could just throw a suggestion in and be anonymous, and we can't accept them. So if they can be directed to submit public comment, we get those letters at the beginning of a council meeting when we start the portion of the agenda for public comment. I acknowledge written comments for the record. And then if they need to be delegated, they are delegated at that time.
Thank you.
I didn't even know that, so thank you for that. You can never leave us. What else do you have there?
Hang on, I'll just-
If it's them, let them comment later, unless there's something you want to bring.
And I believe the developing of the new website allows that, the city website. I believe it'll.
For suggestion?
For comments and suggestion.
I believe it's going to have something where it'll be fillable, but it will require a name of the city of residence
Right.
to be submitted.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, the other things I'm going to bring up out loud, not to be discussed or answered at this point in time, because we're not there, is it was brought up how to address people from Keizer, whether it be citizens or residents, or if there's a better terminology that we prefer to use. And so,
Madam Chair?
Please.
And the preference in all of our documentation has been residents, because a person can be a resident of this community and not necessarily a voter or a elector, as they would say, and that's usually the equivalent for a citizen. So that would be the preferred language.
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay.
Well, we can take it off of the agenda now from the CDEC, because I requested it go through them as someone to answer the question. So, Don, if you could, thank you. What was the other thing?
Tammy, that doesn't address, though, that issue we've had about apartment owner
that's a
versus
separate-
residence.
Yeah,
It doesn't
no.
address that.
No, I have a separate question.
Yes, it does. If they're a resident, they, generally, they live in Keizer. We're not going to specify where in Keizer.
Microphone.
Where in
But
Keizer.
I think the plan right now says owners, doesn't it?
I think
Or at
we,
least it did earlier.
Let me, Mayor, let me give a little bit of background on this, is that when you have an apartment complex, they are all residents, but they're not property owners. And we we are trying to get clarification on who can sign to get to that 50 to 75%. Yeah,
and
okay.
I'm just going to say, I like the word resident, and I live in a neighborhood with like 10 duplexes. And most of the duplex renters are just like residents, the people, they're not much different, I can't see the difference.
Than an apartment.
The people who own property, they rent. If we don't use the word resident, then we're taking out a group of people and saying you don't count. And I don't think we should do that. So I think resident's a nice term. And yeah, unfortunately, I don't know, maybe there's some horror story where the residents vote in something or ask for something and cost the owner of the property a lot of money, and the owner won't up the rent. I just imagine that happening.
Okay, go ahead,
And
Tammy.
we have two actually separate conversations that we've combined at this point in time. We have one topic of conversation to determine who gets to sign for this 75%, be it owners or, that's different from the terminology of the word itself that I was requesting for feedback. So two separate topics, just wanted to make
Yeah,
that clear.
no, and I appreciate you clarifying those two. But it does bring concern to
whom?
if you're on a street and one has an apartment complex, but you can't get all of them to sign it, how are you going to get to your 50 to 75% is something that we should probably kind of vet out a little bit more. And then
That's,
it can go both ways.
Madam Chair? So on something like, and I'm thinking of the establishment of a street lighting district, that is property owners. So while the resident is going to be the beneficiary of installing streetlights, for example, or doing a sidewalk improvement, at the end of the day, it is the property owner that has to sign because it affects the property itself. So that's how I understand it is written at this time. And I think it has to do with the ownership and the effect on the property.
Go ahead, Tammy.
So, I have two thoughts here. First, last month's meeting was very, very, very helpful in helping me personally understand our role here, which allowed me to approach this document a little differently. With that said, I also last week was in attendance here when, at the planning meeting when they discussed variance. And that gave me a different perspective on how the city interacts with folks that are being affected by certain things. And so some of the questions that I have out there is to ask if we can apply the concepts from the variance outreach to see if that qualifies for what we're trying to do here with our 75% outreach. So this is still pinned for that reason because there's discussion still to be had by folks other than me who are smart enough to do that. So hopefully that helps a little bit with what we're trying to accomplish here.
Could you just explain the variance process compared to ours? Is it like a different threshold of number of residents or?
And I'm not city staff, so maybe someone here is more qualified to speak to the process, but the way I understood it is once someone applies for variance and city reviews and determines if it's for approval or not. And then the neighboring, I don't know exactly who it all goes to, within 250 feet of the improvement gets notified by the city to allow feedback and appeal, which is what I got to witness last
Yeah.
week.
And now the neighborhood associations. Yeah.
Yes, and so that concept, I thought we could see if there's a way to apply it here.
Brenda?
I'm just a little confused about when we put that tabletop over by Cummings,
Yeah.
are we saying that the homeowners in that neighborhood paid for that and nobody else in Keizer?
No. We're
So
saying,
if-
no, it's, are you talking about the 75%?
Well, what I'm thinking is, if we're saying that, the mayor said that it affects the, sidewalks and those homes have to pay for it, I mean, that makes perfect sense that only an owner would respond to that. But, I mean, I'm not saying, I'm just saying it makes sense. It doesn't mean it's the only sense. But if it's speeding down a street, that affects the residents that are living there, and in which case, the residents need to be able to decide. And you know, there are people who rent homes for 30 years. I mean, they're long-term residents in the area. And it seems that if we're talking about the homeowner has to pay for it, maybe that's different than this is a city funding or state funding for a safety issue.
Okay. I think that it is two separate things. If it had to do with a walkway that is in front of a property, the city would address that directly with that property owner. And I haven't, in just at least the year that I've been here, none of these things that would come up in the NTM would address something like that. It would definitely be for safety purposes, and I just think it still needs a little bit more thought process put into it. And I think Tammy has put in some good emails to get some responses and help her absorb that data to decide what works best in this document. Yeah.
I want to make sure that I had to think this through, but the difference between what we're talking about, the neighborhood program, and the local improvement districts, those are very different things. We aren't passing, when people fill this form out finally and get all the people signed up, we're not costing anybody anything.
Right.
That doesn't
Well,
involve.
the city.
No, well, it doesn't, it's asking the city, correct? We're asking, the city can say no,
That's true.
and they can say yeah, or they can say, we'll put it off. Lots of things they can do. But we're kind of into a thinking about who's gonna pay for this.
We don't want to
Don't think about that.
Yeah.
If it's local improvement districts are different than what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And we're not saddling some poor apartment owner who lives in New Jersey with this huge tax thing.
Right.
We're just asking for something to be done.
And I agree with that. That's kind of why I brought it up. I don't understand why only owners would be the
Vote.
75% signing when
have
they're
a-
actually might not even live in our state.
That's why I wouldn't care about the owner.
It's the
I
resident.
agree.
And I've been in a couple projects in the distant past where certain residents wanted something, the city said, okay, let's do it, and the other half of the street said
Did not.
no.
And I think,
So,
That
and
sounds
that's-
like Congress.
Yeah, well, and it really, and the city just said, forget it, we're not gonna do it. And,
and I think,
I appreciate your comment, somewhere between 51% and 75%
Yeah.
of the residents, in my opinion.
split the difference.
Yeah. But it's gotta be more than half, because I've been in where half,
Say
and
no.
both sides are mad.
Yeah.
And the city just walked away and said, we're not doing this.
Or it gets done and then now we have a bigger problem that we have to deal with. So thank you for supporting the 51 to 75%.
Yeah.
So there's
Democracy.
There's now the number, no, there's still been the number of percentage that we feel needs support that we would take to our work session. And then there's the outreach component itself as to how that's accomplished. So we still have two topics here that we're trying to resolve, and we're unwrapping slowly.
I-
Throwing that out there.
Are you just throwing it out now?
No, we've been.
No, we've-
I know we have, but yeah.
I'm just reminding that we have two
I don't know if we
separate-
want to vote on, I don't want to vote on
No.
this.
No,
I'm
we're
just
not.
saying, democracy was based on over 50%. And I think that works most of the time. And yeah, you're right, Hirsch, it's horrible when there's whatever number of Republicans and number of Democrats in the House and they can't. It's that close, you're always going to have a fight. If it's that close to the neighborhood, you're always going to have a fight. That's just the way life is. But if you get 60, if you get more, but to cut it off somewhere else is not democratic.
I'm going to ask a weird question. If this got to something that was really just right there, could we have a public hearing and maybe have people come in if it was something we were, like, one specific project that maybe we have 51% that has signed up and said yes, but it has apartments in there. I want to hear public comment. Is that something that we can have them come? I don't know. I'm really reaching
Can
here.
the city do that? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
If there was a project that was being proposed and it had that much controversy, well, it would likely be bumped to council.
Okay.
We would work with staff to bring a staff report and then put together either a public hearing or a work session
Okay.
that would elevate it to a more comprehensive community conversation.
Perfect. Okay. So there is an avenue for that. It just, we would need to get it over to council in order to
Yes.
help us out, because that's what they're for.
That would be my recommendation, that you would bring a recommendation that it be elevated.
Thank you. Is there any other items on that list?
Yes, sorry, I said I had a lot to say today, and this is part of that. Sidewalks are not part of this program. I just want to make that a statement. It has come up in some of the feedback that it just can't be. That's not the role of the document. And with that in mind, plus what we learned last month, I've readdressed some of the process to remove us from the whole, we've inserted ourselves in a way we shouldn't have, I feel. We're supposed to be more of a conduit to hear the concerns and give transparency to that, and then help show what unfolds from that. But in fact, the program can be followed without our involvement at all.
That is right.
So I need to create some instructions that encompass that, and in that I'm going to state that sidewalks have a different avenue and hopefully give some direction with that. That's one point. Another one is the flow charts. I have absolutely no way to update them. So if we need to keep them in the document, and that's something amongst ourselves, we can figure that out. I need help, hopefully from Dawn or someone who has a program that allows us to do that, because I can't do it in Word.
Okay.
So FYI on that. And that's all I have, so thank you.
Thank you. Michael?
So, I know that discussion we had last month about our role and all that. So other than, from what I heard you just say, other than a group or a neighborhood association that's interested in coming through us, it's almost like a disincentive to go through this. They figure, well, why add an extra step? Why not just go to take this to council?
No, let me rephrase that. They can follow the process through Public Works, not coming to us. But the process still has to be followed. We just wouldn't be given the support.
Right, yeah, I guess, and my point is,
And so,
they should want our support, so they should come to us.
absolutely, but they don't have to.
Yeah.
That's right.
The way I was wording the document, and I take ownership for those changes, was to have them come to us thinking we were giving all that support, but in fact, we were just creating another encumbrance for some who don't need it. And so by removing us from that, saying you can come to us and we will help get you in contact with the staff members that you are trying to reach out to, and we will help follow along and answer your questions, because it's not an easy process even through our updates. It's just not. So we are here to help with that, but in the end, we're just helping. We're
Yeah,
not actually
it's the
doing.
city's decision. And
Right, and so I think what you also said is if they bypass us and go to council, I don't know how council handles it when that happens, so I don't want to guess.
Go ahead, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll send it back. So what has happened when people have come, we've recommended that because as an advisory committee, working with our staff members, this is a great example. You're doing the vetting, you're listening, you're taking the time to think through these projects so that what comes to council as a recommendation has already been through a level of review.
Right.
And so I tend, and this is how I run it, I'm just, one mayor, I'll send it back. If it's new, I'm going to send it to either staff or to come back here to have a more thorough conversation. Rather than, I'm going to go straight to the top because the mayor's going to fix this today, and we're going to go, and they're going to fix the pothole in front of my house. I'm like, I don't have that magic wand or the authority, so let's get it into the proper process. So there's the conversation about things that will affect a whole neighborhood, that will affect how something works, and get the collective wisdom that we've asked you to serve here and provide.
And that was what I'm hoping to hear, or was wanting to hear, because I want the public to still think that it is in their benefit.
And it
To go
is,
through
it
this
really
process
is.
with
And I
us.
think that we had a chance to go through one, since I've been aboard, and I think that we did give clear areas to get to the right places. And we do know it takes time, but again, we want to make thoughtful decisions of the recommendations we're making so that we have a safe city to live in. So, thank you. Thank you, Tammy. I know this is a big project, and it looks like it's going to be taken into 2024. Next on the list is Salem Keizer Area Transportation Study, SCATS report. And I have Rick and Hirsch, if you have anything. And I also, if Mayor Clark wanted to add in some, because I did ask her to come to this meeting, because I believe our committee we're not keeping our eyes out enough on what we can do in order to support SCATs and that's in that area. Okay. Hirsch?
The information I got from SCATS is the city of Turner is doing their TSP, just started it, and again, they're way outdated, but they were kind of first in the line, so we're in the docket. Safe Routes to School program gave a workshop at the Oregon School Boards Association annual convention, and that's just to kind of let not only Salem Keizer schools, but the other school districts know a little more about safe routes. So that presentation, it was focusing more on walking to school than cycling. And then directly related to Keizer, ODOT is working with the city of Keizer to improve Verda Lane. And with an elementary school nearby and goals, there will be an in-person open house from 4 to 7 p.m. Thursday, December 7th, here at the Civic Center.
Here.
Time again.
4 p.m. Yeah, that's ODOT. Those guys, they want to get early. 4 to 7 p.m.
4 to 7.
And December 7th, here at Civic Auditorium, Keizer Civic Center. That's the information I got from SCATS, what's going on, that kind of affects us.
I like it. Thank you so much for the update. Mayor Clark, did you want to comment on this area of what expectations you have, or areas that you can help guide us to help you with this, with SCATS?
All right. Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of the Traffic Safety Bike Ped. I've been forwarding these SCATS packages to you because I want you to know what projects are in the queue, what the conversations are, not just for Keizer, but for our region. It puts your work into perspective. When people come, why hasn't this been done? You know that project, Verda, for one, is in the queue. It's going to construction in 25. So when people get impatient or, why is nothing done? Yes, it is in the planning and right-of-way phase, and then it will go to construction. So it helps give people assurances, but I'm trying to inform you and equip you to understand what is happening in our region. I also wanted to make sure that you had connections with Chariots, because Chariots is a member of SCATS, and some of their projects end up in our packets. So when you get the unified program and work plan, that's in there. That's one of the areas where SCATS does engage with transit. So I want to make sure that you knew that as well.
I didn't know that one. Thank you.
So the members of SCATS are Salem, Keizer, Turner, and Marion County and Polk counties as the general service governments. The two special districts that are on SCATS are the Salem Keizer School District and Salem Keizer Mass Transit Chariots. and ODOT. So that's the members of SCATS, the policy committee, and then there's a technical advisory committee that vets projects. Sound familiar? So we all have transportation system plans. We all have projects that we want to get done. Only some of them are eligible for federal funding. If they're not federal, we're not talking about it at SCATS. SCATS is a metropolitan planning organization that is recognized by the federal government, and we are the conduit through which we queue up the projects that are eligible for that funding. So it's in partnership with ODOT. They have to also, it has to be in their plans as well, and then those projects are managed through the COG. So I just want to give you a sense of what the MPO is about. There are 8 MPOs in the state, metropolitan planning organizations. When an area achieves a population, this is it's called the Metropolitan Statistical Area. It's something done through the census. When it achieves a population of 50,000 or more, then you are required to form an MPO. In our case, we're growing. Almsville is joining SCATS. And you're going, Almsville, they're not 50,000. Nope. But the economic activity has now moved far enough up the canyon that Almsville in its entirety is now included in our economic activity area.
In our area?
In our MPO. They are joining our MPO. So it'll be Salem, Keizer, Turner, and Almsville will be the new general purpose government that will be joining. We're working on the process by which we bring them into the collaborative agreement, the cooperative agreement that we have, and that will add them as a voting member for SCATS.
You had said something under 50,000?
Once-
Is it put us in a different category if we're over 50,000?
So once you achieve 50,000, that's when an MPO is formed.
Okay, our own.
Yeah. In our case, we will not split off. Once it's been established, it just keeps growing. And the boundaries are determined by the census, and it's based on economic activity.
Okay.
Another example, in 2010, an area that had long needed one but hadn't reached that threshold achieved 50,000, and that was Albany. So they are their own MPO. Corvallis, there's a Corvallis area MPO.
Salem?
Salem Keizer. So Salem Keizer, we are one. Salem Keizer, Turner, Almsville,
Okay.
we are one MPO.
Woodburn.
Nope, Woodburn is not big enough. And they're too far away from us. Would we like them to be part of our MPO? Yes, we would. But there's a big gap between our Salem Keizer area economic activity, big gap, and then and Brooks is too little, and it's not incorporated. And then you get Woodburn, but they're not at 50,000. So they are not an MPO.
Okay. That's very educational.
Eugene and Springfield split, didn't they, a number of years ago?
They split their UGB, but they are in one MPO.
Yeah.
That's the Lane County Metropolitan Planning Organization. So yeah, both of those cities are in, I think they have some outlying areas as well that have economic activity that ties into the Eugene Springfield statistical area. So their boundary includes both cities and some outlying areas.
I have one question. I understand these are organizations of people, towns and cities and so on. I notice there's no environmental input into the planning, at least I don't see it when I was looking over it. For example, that they don't take into, for LCDC, why would, they should be inputting restrictions on some of the transportation planning. Maybe they should, I don't know, if not. When do they get to come in and say, no, you don't get to develop Brooks into a megapolis trucking depot because you're ruining something? They don't get that opportunity that I see. I
think that's
Not at the MPO, no. This is federal. Where they have input is on the development of comprehensive plans and transportation system plans. And the basis for the projects that get elevated to federal funding come from those transportation system plans. So it's way in the early stages of developing project lists and plans that state agencies have input including DLCD,
Okay,
DEQ,
so
and
at
other
that
partners.
level, They'll be inputting them. Okay.
They were early on. So once,
Okay.
for example, the Verta project, that was already a go. So DLCD coming back now and saying, yeah, we're not feeling it, that would not be well received.
Yeah.
And it would not be the appropriate time. It's already in our comp plan, it's already in our transportation system plan. And that, but the input from those agencies happens in the development of our plans, the comp plan and the TSP. Does that help?
Yes, that helps a lot. It helps me a lot. I hope it helps you, and I hope that our,
Well, I understand it, yes.
I think that when we're seeing these emails come in from Don, forwarded from the mayor, if we want to review that and have some comment during our check-ins, would help of any areas that you see. But this is how we can help the mayor who sits on those boards to kind of bring it to her attention of anything we may be in support to help her see. Okay?
And if I may, Madam Chair, the other body that has policy impacts, and that's MWACT, the Area Commissions on Transportation. And this is a completely different animal with completely different role. But most of the people who sit on SCAS also sit on MWACT, because once you learn to speak transportation, you may as well learn to use it in both places. So the Area Commissions on Transportation were created by the Oregon Transportation Commission, which oversees ODOT. And the acts were designed as policy advisory bodies for the areas all across the state. So unlike the MPOs, which are very specific and driven through federal policy, the acts cover the entirety of Oregon.
Okay.
There are 12 acts, and we are the oldest. The Mid-Willamette Valley Area Commission on Transportation was the first. And we have been able to help other acts get their act together. Right now, we are in a process, the Oregon Transportation Commission had to figure out what to do with us. In years past, we would receive projects that were happening in our region is Marion Polk Yamhill for our act. Okay. And we get projects that we would then vet, we would prioritize for state funding and recommendations. With the advent of Connect Oregon and then the earmarks in the transportation package from the legislature in 2017, the acts were no longer actively involved in that, and things have languished. So the current Oregon Transportation Commission recognized that they've got a brain trust in these 12 acts, where they have people embedded in the community, working on transportation, understand their systems, and it would be a real tragedy to lose that. So all of us have been tasked with forming a 2-year work plan. And Tammy Kunz and Jacqueline Green have been sitting in, listening as the steering committee for MWACT has been working with ODOT on developing that plan. It is going to MWACT for adoption in December. So I think I forwarded, I don't always remember to forward you those packages, but we've been involved in working on issues around, complete systems, making sure that we have developed not just an equity lens, but a safety lens, working on making sure that we encompass all modes as we do this work and so forth. So it's been a very comprehensive conversation. I'm really looking forward to the work that will come out from that work plan over the next 2 years for the act.
Interesting.
So wanted to bring you up to date on that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Hershey had a budget request as an item on the list here.
Well, it goes back to our list that I think at some point after the first of the year, we might want to pick 2 or 3 priorities off this list.
Okay.
And actually recommend it to the budget committee.
And you're asking for that to be done at the January meeting or discussion at the January
At least
meeting?
at
And
the
then
discussion.
passing?
Because we have to start thinking
You're right.
budget process and being able to testify on these projects.
Okay. Then I would like to ask, instruct Don to add a line for our agenda
And I
keep that
personally, let's don't ask for the whole list. There's one or two, and see if we can get it on the budget.
Okay. Then a little bit more discussion at the next meeting, I think would be good, because we're not prioritizing these. But if there are significant safety areas that we believe we want to pass a motion on and request to be added to the budget process, I think that would be a good spot.
Yeah. 'Cause-
February might be a little too late, so if we
Yeah.
maybe could do it all in January, that would be
Yeah,
good.
because we have to get figures, and that would probably where Mike would help us a little bit and be able to give Bill some ideas when he starts doing his process March-ish.
So, okay.
January-ish.
January.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think if we can just
That
maybe,
was just my suggestion. If the
No, I'm with-
If the council, commission thinks differently, but,
we do not, I think if you know me and just the accounting brain I have, I know that this is something, I just didn't think it was January, but if we could make something happen and be able to bring something to the table to.
yeah, at least one project of this, saying, hey, could we get this in this next year's budget?
I like it.
And have a figure and stuff.
Awesome.
That was gonna be my question. Do we need to have numbers associated with these?
Well, I
By
think
January?
Well, I think we need to, in my mind, at least know a project that we need. Mike can help us with the figures and possibly just get that recommendation of the project, and Bill and Mike can have the figures.
Thank you.
Am I correct?
Yeah, for the solar speed displays and different things.
Long as
We have those numbers, so that's easily readily available.
As long as we don't ask for the whole list. And I'm just thinking of maybe one or two, and that's,
I like that approach.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
And on the, ask the fire department, well, we don't have a fire department, it's a fire district. And I don't know, they don't do any sidewalks.
Do they have a policy for?
They didn't know what I was talking about.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move forward to committee member input and neighborhood association reports if we have any to give. And I'm going to start with you over here, David.
Yeah. Went to buy some helmets that we approved, and they were having for whatever reason, a huge sale.
Yeah, two for one, wasn't it?
No, not quite, I wish, but they were $6 instead of 10.
Okay.
Or 11, something, but basically about a 40% off. So we spent the same amount of money and got a lot more helmets. So I don't know if you ordered them, correct, Mike?
Yep, I ordered them. They
Okay.
came 2 days later, 96 helmets, and just put them in our city hall pump station right off
Yeah.
Rickman, so.
So that should do us through May,
Awesome.
at least, good, maybe even longer. But we didn't get quite the choices we wanted in colors. But other than that, everything's fine. The lime green ones were kind of,
Yeah. I'll paint those suckers.
but they were $4, come on, instead
Yeah,
of
I'm
10,
going-
yeah.
Home Depot and get some orange paint.
Give them some stickers.
As my mom would say, you get what you get and
Yeah.
you don't throw a fit. All right. Hersh, do you have some comments to give us?
Trying to get a bike skills event in Keizer in May, working with the police department. We haven't picked a date. I talked with the principal at Keizer Elementary. Keizer Elementary would like to be the host, but there's a bigger thing that I'd like to try to do, and it's going to take a little more talking to various people. Mary Ann and I have done bike skills fair and events in East Salem with the East Salem's elementary schools. And what they have done is like Chavez will have a complete resource fair and bike skills fair. So you have everybody from chariots there, to the police, the fire department, adult and family services, you know, the food bank, just everything in the gym, and then we do the bike skills fair. And then the next year, it's at Scott Elementary. So I talked with the principal at Keizer Elementary and the principal at Weddell, and they're going to talk with the other principals to see if this can be a big resource fair where we can do helmets and everything and just move around the city each year. So we won't have to do the thing here at City Hall and hope to have people in the school district can actually help advertise it. And we did, you know, the one at Chavez and Scott, there was like 200 to 300 families. The one we did at Harrod over in West Salem, 400 families. We had 30 kids here at this one. Yeah. So right now, the people that I've talked to are all for it. Keizer United, I met with them. They are more than willing to help with the resource portion. The CSOC at Keizer Elementary says this is a good idea. It's just a matter of getting all the administration and the police department. And the event would be with all these resources in the gym or wherever, if it's nice weather, the bike skills event with the class, and then the Keizer police would go on a bike ride with the kids.
Well, that's fantastic. That sounds fantastic. You're getting to a bigger audience and.
Yeah, we've been talking about it, and so everybody that I've talked to, Keizer United, Meredith Mooney and Jen there, all said yes. So we'll need help from this committee. We might be able to get help from McNary High School, some of the kids there, to do the, as well as we've used the cadets from here. So,
awesome.
In CTEC, of course, their law enforcement program too. So we're thinking May 2nd, they're having a jogathon at Keizer Elementary, so that's not a go. But you have to work with Corey to find out when the parade is, so we won't have it on the parade day. So the other thing that's coming my way, and again has indirect influence on this, is I've been appointed the commissioner chair for the Marion County Parks Commission. So the big thing about that is we have, I shouldn't say tons of money, but just a lot of money for the canyon. And there's project after project for the canyon because of the fire, and all our parks were damaged. And there is one of the most unique partnerships that have ever occurred around where BLM, federal forestry, and state forestry, and a lot of private groups are all coming together to try to make this thing happen. And our vision is like the old CCC back in the 30s, build something that will last forever, that people 100 years from now would say, cool. And one of the things that's going to start is, good thing about the fire, if there is such a good thing, it burned enough stuff away that the old railroad right-of-way from Mill City to Minnow, which is about 15 miles, was found. And we've determined that over 90% of it is owned by a governmental entity. So is a multi-use path from park to park from Mill City. Wow. So I'm gonna be working on that, and it's
exciting news.
Yeah, so
it is very exciting news. Good job, Rich. I hope that you find a lot of, I think it's right up your alley.
Yeah, get my chainsaw ready. So, but we want to do the bike skills fair here in Keizer, and everybody says yes. So we got the helmets, and we got resources that have already said, yes, you just come up with a date and time and we'll do it, so.
Thank you. Michael?
Well, that's a tough act to follow.
I'm sorry.
Now on her, she's gonna have to go last.
Yeah.
All I have is, well, the neighborhood lights program will be going on in Gupser soon, so just keep an eye out for that and keep an eye out for people walking. And in that vein of walking, I participated at Cummings Ruby Bridges walk the other day. I don't know if the mayor might want to give more detail, but yeah, it was a really great thing. There were tons of kids, and we had a beautiful day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Tammy?
Okay, I'll make this as fast as I can. I know I've been talking a lot. I went to the city council meeting as my homework was assigned. You mentioned Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day. That was on my thing. I mentioned the work session that's coming up. I filled in the council on what we've been up to. And the only other thing that really caught my ear was that the speed sign for Alder is going to the next council agenda. Nothing else really to report on that. Then I was at the planning commission meeting, and as I mentioned, there was a public hearing about the variance, so that was very fascinating to be part of. Not part of it, witnessed it. I learned a lot, so I appreciate that opportunity. The website, I noticed there are some updates that are needed. Just wanted to bring that up. And one big thing that caught my eye is it says we have 9 voting members.
9 what?
Voting members, when we only have 7. Joe, just FYI. we don't know.
No, that actually is true. It's, they never come, but it's Keizer Fire
District,
Yeah.
in the school district.
and the school district. They just don't attend.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
I've sent an email, but this was like over a year ago.
I
interesting.
think every chair has contacted the fire district and, no.
Yeah,
Well, then the only update is our new police liaison's name.
sorry.
So,
I didn't hear what you said.
the police liaison just needs an update.
Oh,
That-
yeah.
That's all I have then on that, since everything else is correct.
I think that can be directed at Dawn to look over for us and just make sure that gets updated. Thank you for looking at that.
The last thing was I sent out to share with everybody the Innovative Mobility Grant. And then I realized in past minutes that it was already brought to our attention. And so Dave mentioned it at one point. And it's temporarily on pause. So if it is something we want to talk about sooner than later, it's on pause. And so we still have an opportunity to look at it and decide if it's something we want to do. Okay, that was all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Brenda?
Well, I went with Lieutenant Wenning and looked for little walking light flashers, and we didn't come upon any. And then I did some research to see if I could find some affordable ones, because it seems like LED lights should be super cheap. I have not hit the lottery on cheap walking lights, or even cheap tape that you could put as reflectors. But I will continue to hope
Is
that
this
that.
something that you're wanting to do with the bike safety committee? or-
Yeah, I'm just figuring that when they're doing that type of community awareness, that we could add in, like, your dog needs to have some kind of reflector or flashing light. You should have a reflector or flashing light. We have a large number of neighborhoods where there's not streetlights and people are walking. So it'd be nice to have some form of education that I don't think it needs like an entire, like we're doing with bike safety. I just need
but
an
I was
awareness
just
of
thinking
lights,
that
you know?
you could probably add on to
Yeah.
that, because that is an area that we
Yeah.
are educating the citizens.
That's what I was thinking, is just, it would just be, and here's a flasher, walk with this, please. So,
Are you going to find flasher money too?
I don't know what I'm doing.
The other place that you might want to contact, about 3 years ago, Chariots was giving away
Outreach.
some Velcro reflectors you could use for armbands or around the dog's neck or around your ankle or whatever. I don't know where they got them, but I'm just,
Chariots
somebody
is a
there
good
might
one.
know.
I tried to get some for Weddell in September, and Transit said, we have none. We're not, all the
Might know
people,
where they are, where they got them.
they got them online. And-
Right, but I think that if we just keep checking with them,
But-
if they can give us a supply, they would if they had them.
If they had them, but Safe Routes to School has all of them right now. And those little reflective, Beth has buckets of them. And they're we're already committed to give to the bike skills event.
Oh, so we're good? We have stuff? Lovely, thank you.
Yeah, because Beth already said
That's
because she
great.
gave us, and I don't know how many we handed out there at the event that you were at. She was on the other side handing stuff out.
I missed that. Sorry.
She was busy fitting kids with helmets.
That's right, she was.
All right, anything
Thank you.
else? Thank you. Rick?
Everything.
Nothing? Okay. I think for me, I just think we're wrapping up the end of the year, and I feel that this working projects document is really going to help write up our memo to council of what our year looked like. I think with this being our last meeting, it's been a great year. I think that the neighborhood associations, you guys have been great as far as coming here and keeping, you guys are our eyes. We don't know what's going on unless you guys are bringing it to us. So I just think that we're seeing a lot of good movement happening, and that the city is here in support of us and what we're doing here to make sure that they're getting a clear understanding of what we're hearing, because that's the only way they're going to hear it. So thank you for that. And then the only other thing is, does somebody have the parade date? What date is that? I need to know. Oh, is it yours? Ha, okay.
'cause
I won't steal your thunder
need
on that one then.
too.
Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and, as I said, just thank everybody. I wanted to thank everybody for all the hard work that they've done here and keeping us moving forward. Staff report from Mike.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for all the work that you've done with this committee, so thank you. For the stormwater side, our annual cleaning is almost wrapped up for the season. And on the street side, we're preparing traffic control for the Holiday Lights Parade, which will be Saturday, December 9th, from 7 to 10. So right around the corner.
All right.
That's my
December 9th?
Yep.
I'd like to think my leaf cleanup on my street has helped, because they did not stay on our street too long today. They were down there today with the big truck. Okay, I feel like that's giving, so I'm gonna take it. Thanks. All right, and next we have our police liaison, Lieutenant Winnie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to thank you folks for allowing me to come the last 3 months and participate in this again. I've been on and off this committee probably 3 or 4 times in 25 years. And this will be my last meeting. We will have a new liaison come January. And we're not 100%, I don't want to say who I think it's going to end up being at this point, but we're pretty sure we have somebody in place. We just have to have Mr. Brown go ahead and appoint that individual to the committee. The one thing that we have for the police, from the police side, is that we participated with the mayor, and Mike brought it up too, that we had Officer Paul Quintero and the new patrol lieutenant, Timothy Hine, do the Ruby Bridges at Cummings last week. Was it last week, I believe?
Yeah.
Or the week before? And was it this week?
Nuh-uh.
No, it was last week.
It was last week. Okay, I was like, wait a minute.
It was recently, and
2 days ago.
It wasn't last week?
No, it was Tuesday.
was it Tuesday?
Okay,
Time flies.
it does.
So we loved being part of that, and we'll be more than happy to participate in the future in any of those types of endeavors. So we wanted to thank you for allowing us to be.
Yeah, we want to thank you
Participate
for
in that.
coming and participating and making sure that there is a presence here from our police department. Thank you. And council liaison, Mayor Clark.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Just a couple of things. Yeah, the Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day was fantastic. Really want to give a shout out to Beth Schmidt and her team. They did hire Tania Perfecto Calderon to join the Safe Routes to School team at the Council of Governments. So they now have 2.5 FTE there and growing. So they're doing a fantastic job increasing the ability to provide services and education through that program. Thank you for mentioning the Verta Lane open house on December 7th. We want to emphasize that one. It's going to be really important to hear from the community as we get ready to go out for that project to go to construction. Very excited about that. You've been seeing along River Road that there's been sidewalks torn up and a whole bunch of work done by PGE, and then they move on. So you might be wondering, what are they doing? I was wondering the same thing. And Mr. Lawyer reminded us that we had gotten funding for a project that is an ITS project that is putting the fiber in to connect all of our traffic signals along River Road. I'd forgotten all about it because it's been funded for a while. I hadn't kept track that it was finally going to construction. Here it is. So yay, it's being done finally. It will really improve the responsiveness for adjusting the timing of our lights on River Road, for safety, for congestion mitigation and so forth, and much more responsive. It's going to be a great system. Here's the catch. During installation, the old system will be shut down. So if we're used to now having some adjustment, and Salem runs all of the ITS for us. So for about 6 weeks, everybody just hunker down, be patient, don't get frustrated with the lights because they're not responding to you. They can't. When they get turned back on, you're going to love it. So everybody's just got to be patient during the installation. So everybody go slow, enjoy the peace of the holidays. Also want to let you know that the West Side Express Service, the WES extension, that conversation is proceeding. We had a meeting that was in Woodburn with all of the principals that would be involved with looking at a study for extending commuter rail service all the way to Salem. Right now it terminates in Wilsonville. The original design had to come all the way to all the way to Salem. And then there was another study that looked at another alignment on the other side of I-5, which, why would we care? It's not in Keizer. So anyway, this one is the one that comes through Keizer and ends on Front Street. So it's Burlington Northern, the old electric, Oregon Electric.
This is back to the future.
Yes, it is.
My mother talks about getting on at Keizer Station, which was just a little step back in the 30s and 40s, and going to Portland, doing shopping up there and coming home.
Yep.
Back to Keizer.
We might be able to bring that back. So there's legislation that has been drafted by Representative Mannix to propose, once again, this was in the last session, it didn't make it to the floor for a vote, to go ahead and convene a study. A lot of it is just updating data because, as her said, some of this is already done. And it'll be refreshing that, but bringing everybody to the table to have that conversation about what does this look like, is it feasible, and so forth. I'm really excited about it. Keizer will have a seat at the table, and I'll be appointing someone to that. I also want to note that every jurisdiction along that alignment endorsed the original bill. All of us. That's huge. It says a lot that we are interested in finding out more if this is a workable option as the number of people in the valley increases, and to give people options for getting from here all the way to Portland. The big one, as all of you know, is Woodburn. Amazon's fixing to open. 2,000 employees. Hello. That's a lot of people needing to move in and out of that fantastic space. So stay tuned for that, but I wanted to let you know that that legislative concept is moving forward with our support into the short session. And for scheduling a work session, it's penciled right now to do a joint work session with you. You tell us, and then we'll figure it out when you're ready to go. And thank you all for your work. Thank you, Chair Davis, for your work. Lieutenant, thank you for your great service to Keizer, and really appreciate you can keep on coming back just to make sure it's all done. Appreciate it.
Awesome. I think there's no other business besides for next meeting is January 18th, and I'll go ahead and adjourn. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.